What are you getting, like a yacht? And, if that's your value, fine. But you got to lay the foundation first.
Welcome to the Physician Sense Podcast, a podcast designed specifically for physicians, offering a breakdown of complex financial topics to help you develop your financial IQ, further your financial journey, and improve your well-being. Whether you're a medical student, resident, fellow, or attending physician, you're sure to learn something new that will benefit your journey. And now, your hosts, Chad Chubb and Tyler Olson.
Welcome to another episode of the Physician Sense Podcast. I am your co-host, Chad Chubb. I'm joined by the one, the only, my favorite sweater-wearing Northeastern man, the one, the only, Tyler Olson.
Good to see you, Chad. I feel cozy. It is chilly here, and I love it.
Looks like the sun's shining, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's a beautiful, beautiful day. It's cold and sunny. I think that's my favorite combination, to be honest. Like, I'm not a warm weather guy. So
you would really not like Florida in the summer. I'm with you. I like a little chill in the air.
Mm-hmm.
When I breathe, I want to feel it. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You don't get as much of it down here, but we still get some chilly mornings. We had this past week, it was pretty solid. Now we're in February by the time, actually January still, when this goes live. So hopefully it's crisp outside, not like the Northeast, but yes. So today we finish up part 3 of our 3-part series, and we're covering your wonderful post, which was the 12 steps. I'm going up to the main one. And this was, you want to be financially independent 15 to 20 years into attendinghood. It starts the moment you finish trading. Follow these 12 steps. So we already covered phase 1, phase 2. So today we got some heavy hitters. So I'll go through them quickly, and then we'll go through them in detail. First one, step 9, avoid the doctor house disaster. Ooh. Step 12, get your adult paperwork in order. 11 is your contract can make or break you. And last but not least, build your future, not just your present. Some heavy hitters in here, which is why I love this thread, which is why I believe this thread did so well for you too. But let's hit it first with number 9, which this is I love this topic here. So step 9 again, avoid the doctor house disaster. Your first year as an attending is not the time to buy your forever home. Your job might change. Your call schedule might suck. You might realize you hate this city. Rent, stack cash. But once you are stable, 12 to 24 months at least in most cases, yes, there are exceptions. If you know the location and your job very well already and know you're not leaving, which I agree. We can build on that one too. But Tyler, tell us more about this doctor house disaster that you talk about.
Everyone thinks it's not going to be them. They're going to get their first attending job and they're going to love it. They're going to love the city. And the emotional drive behind that thought process makes sense to me. A lot of you have been in school and training for well over a decade, and you are pining to set down roots. And by buying a house, maybe you can just manifest that, right? I think that's where I was coming from, because of those reasons that I highlighted. Job change, you may realize there's certain things about either the location or the job that you're like, actually, I don't want to live here, but I just dropped $1.1 million on this house, and now I need to stick it out. You need to make sure that the foundation of why you want to live in a particular place and why you want to work at a location or with a certain group or an institution, that you get those settled first before you set down the financially grounding roots. Because if you do that first and then you find out that you're not going to stay there, or that you don't want to stay there, but you try to force yourself, that's higher risk of burnout. Even if you do get out, you might sell at a loss. It's a lot of work to buy and then subsequently sell a house within a 2-year period. And it's stressful. And you bought a house that you're like, oh, I was going to live here and I loved it. Now I'm leaving, and it can be heartbreaking. So you just got to be really, really careful. Anytime I post stuff about not buying a house, straight out of training, I always get the doctors who are like, but I'm going back home, or I'm staying at the same institution that I was at, or something similar. And I am not talking to those people in this. Like, if you know, like, and we have clients. It's so funny. I get clients every late summer who are like, we made sure to buy our house before we got in touch with you. And then they're like, but we're moving back home, so it's okay. And I'm like, sure, it's fine. There are definitely exceptions here, and that's fine. I'm not talking about those exceptions. I'm talking about the majority of these situations where you're moving to a new place, moving to a new job, and you don't know enough about it to make such a huge financial commitment.
Yeah, said very well. I actually was just going to do average closing cost. I always forget the percentage.
It's usually like 2.5% to 3% of the pie, and then you add on the sales commission of the realtor, like 5-6% on the sales side.
Google Quick said 2 to 5 was like the range they gave, and it varies by state area. But I bring that up first because I am still amazed. And if it's your first home, it makes sense. But so many people don't know what closing costs are, and it is very expensive to buy a home. Again, let's just use this Google for our podcast episode today. 2 to 5%. That's a lot. You're not buying $100,000 home, most of you. Use your $1 million example, right? You're talking serious money, $20,000-$50,000 on $1 million home. The average break even is usually around 5 years. That's a pretty good like average number. So if you buy a home, it's the wrong home, you sell it in less than 5 years, and then you go buy another one, essentially to get you out of this bad situation, you are paying a lot of money in closing costs. And sure, maybe you get lucky and you have a hot housing market and it appreciates enough that you make it back. We just had a very hot housing market. I would start to anticipate, we're probably already starting to see that slows down. Heaven forbid it goes the other way for a period of time. But you need to be very close there. And it's even more painful if you buy a house at peak market and then the market does calm down in your area a little bit. Now you're selling it at a loss and you still have more closing costs. So when I read that one, that's the one I always bring to our clients, is that you need to understand closing costs. They're expensive, especially if you're going back and forth. And I know you noted, the wrong city. With a lot of these, at least a lot of our academic physicians, right? They're in larger cities. So you could be in the right city, but the wrong neighborhood. I use Philly, for example. Philly is such a massive massive city. And, everything from Pennsport to Northern Liberties, there's so many different areas to hit. And if you go buy a home, you might say like, oh, well, we did love that area, but now we realized, the kids' school's up here. We just realized a lot of our friends are up here. Now we want to move, 12 blocks north. And just there's little things in there that, don't rush to make that decision. If you do it the right way, you'll be able to buy, if your goal is to get the McMansion, you're going to be able to get the McMansion someday. But just don't do anything crazy out of the gate in terms of, one, buying a large house, but two, even keeping some flexibility by renting. But this topic is a popular one for a lot of reasons because it touches everybody. One thing that we all have in common, housing. We need somewhere to stay. So this is just one of those topics that I think always hits very well. But I enjoyed your number 9 there. I thought you covered it very well.
I would just say to anyone who's struggling over this decision, patience is really going to be your friend here. Like once say you do love the neighborhood and you love the job and you've actually confirmed that because you've given it time, that home purchase is going to feel a lot calmer. You're going to feel a lot more grounded. Nothing is guaranteed, in terms of the future, but you got to make your best effort to know this is where you're going to stay and then commit.
Yeah. And even if you want a little bit of flexibility, remember, you don't always have to rent stuff for a year or 2 years. You can ask for a 6-month contract saying like, hey, we just want to make sure we like this. Ideally, if you can do 6 months and then they magically let you do like a month after that, you don't always have to go lock in a 3-year rental, right? So even there, keep some flexibility because we also see the opposite. Clients go to rent. They do find out that they love that neighborhood. They found the house that they love. And now they're like, shoot, I still have 6 months on this contract I signed. So to your point, keep it agile, keep it flexible. I think you covered best with stack cash. If you really want flexibility in the housing market, hoard some cash. That'll give you flexibility. All right, number 10, not the most exciting topic, but the vital topic, right? Step 10, get your adult paperwork in order. No one wants to talk about this, but draft a will, healthcare directive, powers of attorney, check your beneficiary designations. It's boring, but it saves your family a mountain of pain if something happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, no one wants to talk about it, but these are things that if you are listening to this podcast or watching this YouTube, I don't care if you're sitting there single by yourself, I would still argue you should go get all these done as soon as possible.
Yeah. It's very likely that the more on a percentage basis of physicians will understand the value of a healthcare directive and powers of attorney because of their line of work. But still, many don't have it. Like, so this is not about, like, these things often come under the umbrella, the perceptive umbrella of wealth, like ultra high wealth, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about making sure that you are advocated for if you were to die or if you become incapacitated. And that's what a will, healthcare directive, and powers of attorney can provide. The checking your beneficiary designations, that's like part of the detail work of making sure that your estate plan is in place. And I'll tell you, like, I mean, our clients work with us because they know that we're going to compel them to take care of stuff. But I know every single time I bring it up, it's like, I hear this groan. It's like, oh, okay, we got to take care of this, check and make sure this is done. It is so boring. And of course, no one wants to think about their own demise. So I get it. But doing this is love. Taking this action is showing love to yourself and to your loved ones.
Yeah, I would say the living will is one of the most painful documents to walk through. But if you think it's painful for you, imagine if someone else had to make those decisions without you writing down your wishes on what is, your goals to ideally get you back to full strength or your end of life planning. And the beneficiary designations, that one doesn't get enough love, but I always know beneficiary designations override the probate process. So whoever you list as a beneficiary, there's no one that has any say after that, right? It skips the probate process. It goes right to that person. So whoever you list on your 401k, your Roth IRA, your TOD, that person is going to get those assets no matter what. So, always double check that. I feel like most of our audience is pretty a little bit younger in terms of we're not worried about like second marriages, although that may be the case for some. But if you want to see some horror stories, that is where you usually will find them, on not updating the 401k balance from the first spouse, and then something happens and then the second spouse is not happy. But even, when you don't have kids, right, you're listing your parents on there. Now, ideally, we all have good grandparents, but you want to make sure probably gets to your kids quicker than your parents. But all those little things. So again, not the sexiest work of financial planning, but very important. Find a good attorney. Our buddy Kyle Clausen, that we always refer to Resolve, his team does a great job on these types of documents. Even when you go through open enrollment, there's usually you can select a package. Those are always, say, one-off years too. You can add those packages, maybe get at least something basic in place and then turn it off. Even local attorneys, probably pay a couple $100, maybe a couple thousand for simple stuff, but get that in place. Get that adult paperwork in place. All right. 11. Your contract can make or break you. Most docs don't read the fine print. Big mistake. RVU targets, call coverage, non-competes, tail coverage. We get back-to-back shout outs to Resolve here. Pay an expert like Resolve agents to review before you sign. A $800 review can save you $50,000 in headaches and wasted time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't believe how often I still hear doctors tell me that the hiring entity or hiring person that they're talking to sends them the contract and they say something like, this is boilerplate stuff. And they always say that because they're just trying to get it done. They just want you to sign and move on. If they've offered you the contract, it's because they want you to work for them and they see the value of what you do versus what they're going to pay you. They don't want any hangups, and they are not inclined to, increase the side of things for you as far as the benefits are concerned. So of course they're going to say that. And I get, I get pushback from doctors saying, well, at certain institutions, it's just take it or leave it. And I'm like, fine. Even if that's the case, you got to know what you're signing. And working with an attorney to explain it to you is critical, because you don't, unless you happen to also be a legal expert in this regard, you don't know what you're signing. And it's going to be very arduous to like sift through it and like do it yourself. So at the very least, it can provide you with the knowledge of what you're agreeing to. That will help to inform even things like buying a home. So you can feel more confident of like, well, what's my life going to be like? What's my schedule going to be like? What are the expectations? It's really important to get that done.
Yeah. You took the words out of my mouth. That's what I was going to say. Like, let's just say there is a true thing as a template, boilerplate contract, and you can't change a darn thing. At the end of the day, paying a couple $100 to at least know what's in there is still well worth the cost of admission. And I'm sure you could say it's a little bit of a biased opinion, but when we ask attorneys too, like most of them say like, no, there's always room to move things around, no matter what they say. And sure, some will be a little bit harder than others, but at least knowing what's in there is so important, not only for that contract, but every contract that follows as well, which is, I know we're not going to talk about it in this one per se, but this is also where negotiating your numbers is so important. And, whether it's Resolve or other great contract attorneys out there, right? Just knowing like, hey, here's the data that we think that you're actually, this is pretty fair comp, or we don't like that RSVU number there, RVU number. I was going to say RSUs because I'm thinking of the stock side of it. On the RVUs, knowing that those numbers are in line with what we see, not only for your specialty, but that area. And that's where, having professionals come in to help with those things is really important. We've had Kyle in past episodes, I believe 2 now. But they do great work. And, again, there's a lot of good ones out there. But pay a couple $100, get that review in there. Ideally, most of you are getting this done right before you come in attending. So the big kid dollars are coming in. You can spend a couple $100 here. You'll be in a good spot.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, on this beautiful thread from the one and only Tyler Olson. Step 12, build your future, not just your present. In year 1 through 3, your money should go toward retirement, debt payoff, emergency reserves, and a small fun budget. Once you've locked these in, then we can talk about the boat, the Tesla, and the ski condo. Is Tesla considered a splurge car?
I think it's yes. I mean, I know in terms of pricing, it's not like that different. I think it's more of like a lifestyle decision and status.
Yeah.
It's also so it is considered, at least in conversations that I have, I consider it a splurge decision if you live north, because I know people that have had them in colder states, and it's a toy in the winter because the battery efficiency is a challenge, in cold weather. And I know people that have gotten it that wanted to use it as their primary car, and they ended up kind of hating it because they needed it to function and being like useful. And I'm not trying to knock like Tesla cars. I don't know enough about them personally to be like, oh, this is like a bad car to buy. I just, if you're going to get it, it's usually because it's like, they just want it. It's not like it's not even if it's reliable, it's not being purchased as like in the same mindset of like a Toyota or a Honda. It's like more of like a upper end. I'm just getting it because I want it.
I always think of, to me, like the G-Wagon. I think we talked about the G-Wagon on a recent episode. Like the G-Wagon comes to mind, like the smaller Porsche. Like I always feel like the 911 maybe. I don't know much about cars either. I always say I'm a Jeep guy, so I keep it simple. Anyway, complete segue there, but I love how you listed it in there with the mix. But
there's this one EM doc, Average Money Joe. He always talks about his boat, and he was responsible with his process. He's on Twitter, and he talks about his boat a lot, but he also shows like how his net worth is growing. If you don't follow him, you should. He's got an interesting story.
I saw you. I don't know if you were in conversation with him or you retweeted something, but he was literally on my thread, I think like yesterday. So I know.
Oh yeah. Well, that was because he was making comments about people's understanding about the real estate syndication and stuff. And it was not adversarial. It wasn't an adversarial quote tweet. But no, he has good thoughts. But that's him. What was I going to say? Oh, but he's gone about it the right way. He was building the foundation. He was doing those things: retirement, debt payoff, emergency reserves, doing some fun things. but he didn't. And then he did get a boat. And like we've bantered about it for years now, it seems like, and he wants to get a second boat. And I'm like, come on, man. And he was like, he said it was going to be like $250,000 or something like that. And I was like, what are you getting, like a yacht? And if that's your value, fine. But you got to lay the foundation first. You got to make sure that you're helping yourself to spend money 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. That's what we're doing when we save for retirement. We're planning to spend 40 years from now, which is great. We want to spend that far in advance. So you just got to do it in the right order.
Yeah. I feel like for so many physicians too, like the student loan part, when the student loan part is paid off, it opens up like a whole new universe of discretionary. Even if you're going for public service loan forgiveness, at physician income levels, it's still a pretty good chunk of money going towards those. But if you can get in the habit of saving first, whether that's for long-term stuff like retirement or short-term stuff like Tesla, ski condo, things of that nature, and then you spend what's left after that, I very much believe that you will be a lot happier in the long term, not only based on your present finances, but your long-term finances, because that when the money comes in, that paycheck comes in, you're already putting it towards the main goals, whether those are long-term or short-term. And then you don't need to nitpick or micromanage that bottom part of the budget and the discretionary spending. So, having systems in place for retirement, debt payoff, the fun stuff, the emergency reserve, will add a lot of peace of mind for you, not only today, but as you go forward, and just setting those good habits in place. The power of finance is compounding interest, and all that is time. You just want time in the markets, which is why, again, when you have a client that's invested their backdoor Roth IRA and they get 10% growth, for the first time, $700, they're like, oh, that's cool. And we're like 10% growth, but on $1 million, that's 100,000, same 10%. But it gets a lot more, you kind of hit these thresholds and all of a sudden you're like, wow, it's pretty cool. And all it was you had good habits early on. You didn't do anything fancy. You didn't drink any, special Kool-Aid here. You just did it the right way. And that will continue to pay dividends as you go forward. So a great thread, my friend. Our first mini series, although it sounds like pre-show, we already had, maybe our next thread coming up on a little tax nerdiness, which that sounds fantastic. So any closing remarks on this beautiful 12-step thread to financial independence?
Take it one step at a time. Don't look at all of it and be like, I got to get all this done now. Just start with step one and build on it a little at a time, and be modest and get help if you need it. That's all. Beautiful. Well said. Well, my friend, as always, lots of fun. Yeah, good to see you, man. I'll catch you on the next episode. Sounds good. All right, see you, Tyler.
This information is for general purposes only. This information is not intended to be a substitute for specific professional, financial, or tax advice, as individual concerns vary. Please see a financial professional, CPA, and/or an attorney in regards to your own individual situation. Wealth Heals Advisory Services and Financial Planning offered through Vicus Capital Inc., a federally registered investment advisor. Olson Consulting LLC, offering advisory services and financial planning, is a state registered investment advisor.